Back here in Cary, North Carolina, halftime between the Courage and the Spirit. The Courage top of the table, and they want to be playing that championship game on Orlando. And tickets for the 2017 NWSL Championship game are currently on sale, folks. The championship will be held at Orlando City Stadium on Saturday, October 14th, and will be broadcast live on Lifetime with kickoff time to be announced at a later date. For more information, log on to nwslchampionship.com. Well, teams are chasing Carolina in the table, but it was a big week. Let's get you the Wednesday highlights. Seattle's down 1-0 on the road. Naho Kawasumi cuts it back, puts the defender on roller skates, and finishes in the 90th minute. But they weren't done. Played up top to Katie Johnson. She settles, cool, calm, collective. Puts it in the back of the net. Huge 2-1 win for Seattle on the road. That vaulted them into fourth place, into that last playoff position as of now. Let's get to Boston. Houston had lost back-to-back games after 6 straight unbeaten. Huge collision there with Rachel Daly and Abby Smith, but Sarah Hagan, the beneficiary, she puts it in the back of the net. That put them up 1-0. And now they're up 2-1 late in the game. Hagan again, Johnny on the spot. She slots it home. 3-1 win for Houston on the road without Carly Lloyd, who has an injured ankle. Now FC Casey against Portland. How about that free kick? Layla Averbush curls it around the wall, and that tied the game, but just a few minutes later, Sydney LaRue gives them the game winner. 2 goals in 4 minutes. Big-time dub for FC Casey. All right, we come back here, folks. Jen and Allie are back on the mic breaking down the first half and the changes that need to take place in the second half. Don't go anywhere.
This broadcast is presented by authority of the National Women's Soccer League and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of the National Women's Soccer League.
Well, welcome back to Cary, North Carolina. No score in our first half between the North Carolina Courage and the Washington Spirit. Jen Hildreth, Allie Wagner, and Allie, why has this game been so ugly, quite frankly?
The heat?
Yes,
part
of
factor,
it.
But I think it's different for both teams, and I think if they could take a page out of each other's book, it would benefit both sides. For Carolina, they've got to have more possession, and as I say that, we know they're capable of hitting you on the break and hitting you fast, but they've got to hold the ball more. They've got to get a sense of tempo and rhythm, and for Washington, they've got the tempo, they've got the rhythm, they're having nice spells of possession. Now it's getting some bite in the final third, whether it's connecting on the final ball, whether it's getting some zip on those shots. It's about more of a change of tempo as they get into that attacking third.
Yeah, I think you could say Washington had the better chances in the first half. They outshot North Carolina 5-4, outpossessed them as well.
And even that, I mean, this ball is lofted in by Estelle Johnson, and yes, it could have been something, but it's just too easy for Roland to get under, pick out of the sky, and head the other direction. But this is how quickly Carolina can get in behind, and Ashley Hatch's touch lets her down there. Her shot does as well, but she gets her head up. You can see she was trying to beat the keeper on a lofted one. And in this opportunity, that heavy touch by Salon gets away from her. She doesn't go to ground, but they were in behind Carolina time and time again, and they earned plenty of set pieces like this one. Estelle Johnson's got to make a better connection with that, but I thought Washington had the better run of play and better opportunities to come in the first half.
3 corner kicks for Washington in the first half gave the Spirit some of their best opportunities. We'll see what the second 45 brings. Second half kickoff coming up from Cary after the break. Just about to start our second half here at Salem Stadium at WakeMed Soccer Park in Cary, North Carolina. The first place North Carolina Courage hosting the Washington Spirit. And just a few moments ago, Dallin Cuff was able to catch up with Washington head coach Jim Gabera.
Coach, it seemed like you guys were on your front foot for most of the first half. Even Coach Riley said you guys were the better team in the first 45. How do you make it the better team over the course of the 90?
Well, we have to stay focused and understand that what we did, keeping them in their half and pressing in a good organized fashion and preventing any scoring chances for them. And we got to continue to do it until we get rewarded for it. I mean, it's been that way all season where we're playing great, but we're not getting, we should be ahead by a goal or two. And so we just got to keep fighting.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Okay, Dallin, so one change for Washington. Alyssa Kleiner taking the place of Estelle Johnson. You expect to just see her slide in there in that back line, Allie?
Yeah, I think outside back spot. Estelle's had a lot of minutes lately and probably get a little bit of pace injected onto the flank. Estelle has pace, but some fresh legs, I guess I should say.
Boston Orlando also in action. The Orlando Pride up 1-0 in the first half thanks to an Alex Morgan goal. Her 6th of the season. and her first on the road as the Pride trying to continue their winning ways. Orlando's won 3 in a row, just 1 point outside of the playoffs as the table currently stands. North Carolina, the top team, 36 points, and those two players right there, Zerboni and Mewis, the two Paul Riley wants to see much more involved and on the ball in this second half.
I think it just comes down to decision making for North Carolina. I think those players are in good spots. It's just finding them and making the decision to not just boom it.
O'Sullivan to Hamilton. Hamilton, good patient touch. Oh, it falls to the feet of Hatch!
Well, Gabera talked about staying focused for the 90 minutes and not allowing silly goals. It's a nice little scene for Sullivan to sit in. You get Hamilton creating a little channel to receive that ball to her feet, dances on it, buys some time, and then just the skip, misplayed ball by the new sub. Alyssa Kleiner has a whiff on it, lands nicely at Hatch's feet, and she doesn't make a mistake from that distance. You got to feel for a player that's just coming to the match like Alyssa Kleiner when that's going to be her first touch, and she just does not connect at all.
And Allie, it's been moments like that that have really, unfortunately, been a part of the fabric of the season for this Washington team. You heard Jim Gabera say to Dallin that it's kind of the same old thing. He felt they were the better team. He agreed with Paul Riley. They played well in the first 45, but they have had silly mistakes on defense. One of the reasons that they have conceded now a league-leading 31 goals.
Look, games won and lost in those types of moments. If you're going to make playoff runs, those things happen. You can dominate. You've got to put the game away. And I wouldn't be so strong, in my opinion, to say that Washington was by far that dominant in the first half. I think North Carolina did create some opportunities in behind, but they were largely held at bay. And in fact, Washington had the better possession, but it wasn't dangerous possession.
And by the way, I should correct myself. Washington, second to worst in terms of goals conceded. Sky Blue FC, which has just been bleeding goals their last couple of games especially.
14 goals in 3 games conceded by Sky Blue.
Yikes.
That's what put them in last place in terms of goals conceded over this Washington team.
Hatch leaves it for Hinkle. Now Shalina Zadorsky kind of hobbling in that back line for Washington after making that clearance. Remember that Dahlkemper, who just served that ball, was the one player Jim Gabera said he did not want to get free from that back line. He knew the outside backs were going to do their thing. And now Washington trying to turn it into something positive. And Zerboni always up toward the top of the league in duels and tackles. Can't take it fully away, though.
And just too slow right there by Washington as they entered that final third with Salon on the ball.
Now a chance for North Carolina to counter, but they weren't able to do it. Played it right to the feet of Coleman.
And McCall wanted that ball in that deep seam between the back line and the mid. She was sitting in it pretty.
See what Hinkle can do with it. Tries to get around Kleiner. Kleiner does her job that time, and Mentioned that Kleiner, our first substitution in this game, came in for Estelle Johnson. Dallin, you're saying there was some heat issues with that substitution.
Yes, it wasn't a tactical substitution. Estelle Johnson struggling with the heat out here. She's not on the bench again. She's still in the locker room receiving fluids and attention. Obviously, was subbed out and had a huge impact on the game. Kleiner coming in somewhat quickly and somewhat unexpectedly, so misplayed the ball, leading to the goal. So Johnson's change here was about the heat, not about anything tactical.
Thank you, Dallin. And Kleiner has played quite a bit this season. This is her 13th appearance. She had 7 starts, but Estelle Johnson, boy, she has been there just about every minute for this Washington team at that outside back spot.
And she's been really good defensively 1v1. Picked up the goal, I think it was last week against Boston.
Zerboni directing it out to O'Sullivan. Williams, no chance to get herself back on side. Didn't even make an attempt at it. You know, usually we see at least once or twice a game the goalkeeper, who's been LeBay for most of the season for Washington, having to come up and take care of that space behind the back line because of the high line that they play. I haven't really seen North Carolina get into that today yet.
No, I mean, the timing's been off, the ball played through's been off, and I do think part of it's been just they've been hasty to get into that space. And of course they can hit you on the break and they can do it effectively, but sometimes it's just a little extra pass that sets that timing up just right. Changes angles, changes timing.
North Carolina with 2 losses in the month of July, 3 wins in just over a week in August to extend their gap at the top of the table. Currently 5 points ahead of second place Portland, as Chicago has struggled with a couple of losses. Top 4 teams, North Carolina, Portland, Chicago, Seattle at the moment. Top 4 will make it into the NWSL playoffs, which begin in October. Here's Zerboni. Out to Hamilton. Kristen Hamilton being much more patient, really trying to work hard to hold off Dadasco.
So well defended by Dadasco there. Hamilton had a great run. She spun it out wide, opened up that passing lane for McCall to slip it in, but Dadasco, I mean, read it well, stayed with her, stood her up 1v1.
Mewis. A little too heavily weighted that time by Sam Mewis. Just told you about the NWSL standings. These were what it looked like coming into today. You see North Carolina on top of those 36 points. Portland just 5 away. Chicago at 29, Seattle 27, and look how close. Orlando, Sky Blue FC both right there. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that Sky Blue FC team. You can't count out a team with someone playing as well as Sam Kerr has been playing for that team this season, but now they've lost their head coach, they've lost their veteran defender. Not sure what we'll see.
You know, sometimes that injects life into a team. Any sort of change can do that. We don't know what the internal status was of that group, whether they're happy about these moves, whether they're not. You know, and that's something that we'll see play out tonight. I mean, as a player who's been on teams with drama before, it takes leadership to come out of these moments and to say, look, we're going to rise above and be above this fray. It's not about them anymore. It's about what we have internally, and we'll see if they get a response tonight.
Big collision there as Smith tried to hurdle over Dadasco.
And good ball movement by North Carolina, getting in the flank. just bowls over Didasco. You can't do that. I know they're giving the ball to North Carolina, but I think that's a situation where Smith tried to go through the player instead of around.
So this sets up Abby Dahlkemper, and Allie, you've talked a lot about how much you like her service from a corner kick or a free kick. What can she do here to help North Carolina?
I mean, drop it in between the penalty spot and the top of the 6, make it a questionable ball for LeBay. Does she come, does she stay? But do it with pace. That makes that question so much harder. I mean, right now, Washington's having a pretty high line. We'll see them drop off as she goes to serve.
Lofts this one high in the air. Zadorsky, who's still hobbling, won it. Caprice Didasco issued a yellow card for that last interaction with Smith. Handball against Bonini. This portion of the match is presented by the new movie Leap, starring Elle Fanning and Maddie Ziegler, in theaters everywhere Friday. 1-0 our score. North Carolina jumping onto the scoreboard 1 minute into the second half as Ashley
Leaping onto
Hatch.
it.
Thank you. That should have come naturally. Thank you for making that transition.
That's what I'm
Ellie.
here for, Jen.
That's why you're the best. Another big collision in the middle of the field. This time, Mewis and Bonini.
And the innocent look by Mewis there as she takes out the Spirit player from behind. Who, me?
She does that look well, doesn't she?
She just has that innocent face, doesn't she?
Such an exciting young player to watch. It's been so valuable to this North Carolina team and to the U.S. when she's gotten a chance to get her minutes there, and there have been many of them. One of the busiest players on the field for the USA in 2017.
I think her upside is enormous.
Williams to Hamilton. Flag is down. Hamilton one-on-one, looking for the far corner and just missing it. No doubt, Allie, that probably should have been 2-0 North Carolina. Meanwhile, Sam Mewis had this happen.
She has had a magnet on her nose, her face, the past few games. She just keeps getting hammered, but here's how Carolina got in behind. That just drops into Hamilton's path. LeBay does well to come out and cut any sort of angle down. Hamilton's got to put that away. I think she found herself surprised that the whistle wasn't blown.
Hamilton was out for a couple of games with a hamstring injury. Now her 4th straight start as Zerboni is orchestrating to Williams, and now the offside flag does go up.
I mean, it's a tall ask of any team to come into this place against this North Carolina team and get a result, but right now Washington is reeling. You can see the staggered back line. Yes, Lynn Williams is offside, but not by much, and that's because of one player not being in tune with the rest of her back line, and those are moments you can't afford.
Mewis winning it in the air. Salon gets it up to Shayna Williams. Haven't been able to call these attackers' names for Washington much yet this second half. Oh, a miss by Urseg. Thought it might give a chance for Williams to get back on it. Mallory Pugh hasn't been able to do much, nor has Williams, nor has Salon in this second half. I mean, really, they've been on their heels.
They have, and credit to North Carolina for pinning Washington back and having more of the ball this half. That's why you haven't seen the likes of a Pugh on it. They just haven't possessed it enough. right now they're wheeling, trying to get out of that pressure that North Carolina is putting on them.
The NWSL on Lifetime will continue next Saturday. We'll get to see Sydney Leroux and FC Kansas City hosting Alex Morgan, who has scored 5 goals now in her last 4 games, including her one today against Boston in the first half. That's put the Pride right in the middle of the playoff hunt. Our coverage will begin as usual at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:30 Pacific, live right here on Lifetime.
I mean, it's so fun to watch a season unfold. When Orlando at the beginning of the season couldn't get a win, they couldn't get a result. Now they've got some better pieces to their puzzle and look to be in fine form, fighting for the playoff spots. Washington, exact opposite.
Ball headed quickly into the area, but then into the gloves of LeBay. Steph LeBay, Canadian goalkeeper and former UConn Husky, has been so strong when given the opportunity this season. She's faced a lot of shots, as we've talked about some of the issues defensively that Washington has had. But the first time these two teams met, for example, LeBay had 8 saves in that match to keep it 1-0 North Carolina.
I mean, she's an excellent goalkeeper. Even in that last play where Hamilton was in, you saw how she came off her line, cut down those angles. But we haven't seen much of her in by way of shot saving today.
Could see what Mewis was thinking there, but didn't quite make it happen.
Look, I talked about her having such a tremendous upside. It's moments like that where she can connect, where she doesn't have to ping it as much with pace. I love her technique on the ball, the way she can get the ball from point A to point B and allow the receiver of the ball more time to do their magic. But there's so much more in her game that she can accomplish if she starts to identify when to slow it down, when to speed it up, when to get on it, when to switch it. She's got all the tools.
Lynn Williams, that shot low on the ground, but unfortunately for her, not on target. You know, you mentioned Orlando. Looking back, that team had just 1 win in their first 7 matches, and now they've won 2 in a row. They're up in the first half against Boston. They pick up 3 points. They will be in the top 4, at least until the rest of our weekend's results wrap up.
Portland, similar situation. They were in the bottom and now sitting up top. You know, it's about figuring it out with the group that you have, adjusting to the style of play you can execute successfully.
Zerboni. The double team doing its job between Huster and Doherty Howard for Washington. Shayna Williams trying to get around a couple of North Carolina defenders and couldn't. Talked a lot about Sam Mewis in this match. In case you missed the news earlier, she was to be facing off against her sister, Christy Mewis. But Christy, we've been told, in the league announcing this morning, pending trade. See where she winds up. Pugh, boy, had a look.
I think this is what can be so frustrating about Washington. That's a lovely attack, a beautiful ball inside, lovely little seam and pocket of space for Pugh to sit in, and then just lacking the final product. Should she have slipped? I'm not sure who that runner was early. Should she have slipped her in? If not, get that on frame at least. Force a save.
Both Mallory Pugh and Bonini getting acclimated to this Washington team. What a ball by O'Sullivan to Williams, but once again LeBay beautifully cutting down that angle.
I think O'Sullivan's very good today. That ball in by Taylor Smith, not a great one, but that sublime touch by O'Sullivan to bring it down out of the air, cut her defender off, and then the weight of that pass right in stride for Lynn Williams. Not a great angle there. It looks like she's opted to go through the legs of LeBay, but LeBay, well done again.
And this will set up first corner.
I think it was a
Long throw,
yeah.
excuse me. Yep, I saw Hatch over there, looked down for a second. So still no corner kicks in this match for North Carolina. Smith, what's she gonna do with it? Trying to cut it around Coleman. Zerboni. Now Mallory Pugh with some room to move. Lewis sizing her up. Pugh still on it. How about that touch to get herself to her right foot? It'll deflect over to Rowland.
And here's a look at Pugh. Sam Ewis is just kind of shepherding her outside, waiting for that change of pace that comes right here. And then whoop, behind the standing leg, cut back, but right into trouble, right into traffic.
This is Alyssa Kleiner, our only substitution in this match so far. Just a one-goal game. You wonder, could substitutions have an impact? Both teams getting tired on a hot day. Got a Jess McDonald on the bench for North Carolina. What a weapon that is. And she's actually standing at the midfield line ready to check in. Hamilton. Williams is offside.
And you said, Jen, that they haven't had corner kicks. I mean, their production in terms of earning corner kicks has gone down in the past 3-4 games, and you can just see Lynn Williams one step ahead, her momentum carrying her. They're not getting around the edges much. They're cutting it back, and I think that's why the production is falling.
You can hear the crowd. I'm going to guess it's for both players here. They're celebrating the goal scorer, Ashley Hatch, the rookie, and then also the veteran, Jess McDonald, coming into this match. The 6-foot forward who played collegiately at North Carolina and has been all around the NWSL, but was a big part of this team's run as the Western New York flashed to the NWSL championship a year ago. Western New York relocating here to North Carolina for this season. Callie Farquharson, our substitution for Washington. That's a player this team had been waiting to get healthy for a long time. They have had several ACL injuries, the Spirit, and Farquharson one of those. This just her 4th appearance of the season.
And I'm a little surprised by that. I thought perhaps Ship would come in, be one of the first ones off the bench. She's played such a big role for them, capable of holding things up in possession. But how about Jess McDonald? We'll see if that injection of fresh legs changes the game the way Riley hoped, having that weapon come in off the bench when everyone else is fatigued.
Well, that was one of the things he talked about in their run to the NWSL championship last year. He said, at this point in the season, our legs were dead. And they still somehow found a way to win, but they didn't want to be in that position this time. And now, partly due to some injuries to their front runners, both Williams and McDonald and Hamilton have all had injuries that they've been out a couple of games at least. That's going to give them rest, plus the emergence of players like Hamilton and Hatch.
Well, it's the scouting and knowing the type of player you want to bring into your program that has helped them weather the storm. Every team will have injuries. But what's been so impressive is how they've been able to navigate it.
McDonald. Still with it, and it will stay in bounds. Williams flicked it on. Hamilton a little late getting there. McDonald was involved in, as you mentioned earlier, one of those Sam Ewis goals at Seattle last week. What I personally thought should have been the goal of the week in the NWSL is Hinkle got it up to McDonald. Oh, that was a great opportunity there.
And this attack is all generated from a turnover by Huster there. Carolina picks it off in their offensive third, and here they come. That's their left back, Hinkle, getting forward, laying that nice ball across frame. It's just tailing away from Jess McDonald with such pace that she can't get around it and get it on frame. talk about Washington and creating their own problems. I think that was a situation, again, they had possession. They were trying to get in their expansive offensive shape, and then just a turnover allows Carolina to find their way into the box.
McDonald, 33 goals all time in the NWSL. For a brief time, she was the NWSL all-time leading scorer until Sam Kerr started doing her thing. What a season Sam Kerr has had, both for club and for country. If you watch some of the Tournament of Nations games, she was incredible on the international stage as well.
She's got my vote for Ballon d'Or.
Yeah, that just coming out this past week, the short list, top 10 players for FIFA's Player of the Year, both Carly Lloyd and Sam Kerr on that list from the NWSL. Check out this weapon, too. If you've not seen this in the past, what a weapon this is when Jess McDonald gets a throw-in this area of the field.
I think Mewis will be a target.
Mewis was the target. Flicked it back. Doherty Howard up to Williams. Farquharson had to hold up her run.
And that's where I think a ship can help this Spirit team. Just hold the ball up in that situation, be an outlet. Williams has been working hard, but they're asking a lot of her. She's been isolated, hasn't been in favorable positions for herself. She's best running in behind, not necessarily with the ball at her feet.
Reminder that following the match, we'll be showing you our play of the game presented by the new movie Leap, starring Elle Fanning and Maddie Ziegler, in theaters everywhere Friday. I would say Ashley Hatch, the front runner at the moment. In a 1-goal game, she has the goal, but we'll see. Still plenty of time left to play here in Cary, North Carolina. Tinkle steps in to win it. She's going to be pressured by Farquharson and eventually fouled. But Allie, do you feel like, we heard Paul Riley talk to Dallin at halftime about really two players especially. He wanted to see more Mewis, more Zerboni on the ball. Have they done a better job doing what he wanted to in the second half?
100%, without a doubt. I think it's been the players finding them, not just their positioning. I think they were in good spaces in the first half. It's just been the calmness to find them in those gaps, those pockets, and the confidence to play them behind, whether it be the two attacking mids of Washington.
On cue, Mewis stepped in to start this attack that McDonald would love to try to finish off. Has to get past Didasco, who's been terrific. Smith offering a little assistance. And now, indeed, it will be a corner kick for North Carolina. First of the match.
And Coleman cannot believe it. We'll get a look here, but this is Smith. I mean, the right back flying forward. They're not assured possession, but she comes forward anyways. That's the license they have, and Coleman does not touch that. That's a poor call.
You could see it sure looked initially like it did take a deflection off of her. And that was a call of our referee, so Del Kemper to set it up. There is the service. LeBay tracking it, tries to punch it. No whistle, ball still in the area. Shayna Williams has a chance to counter here. Can she get some assistance? Mallory Pugh making a run. Crisscrossing in front of her. Hinkle did her job enough, but Williams still going strong. Now Mewis coming back forcefully.
And look at the retreat of the North Carolina Courage team. All those players get back, pick up those loose balls. That's why this team has conceded so few goals. That's why they're sitting at the top of the table.
Doherty Howard had her first goal a couple of weeks ago for Washington. Gets it out to Bonini. Bonini, the touch, the shot. And in the end, an easy save for Rowland.
And not a lot of out of Bonini today. And I know Cabrera wanted to say that she's a fine 10, perhaps one of the best in the league, but I just think the pace of her final ball has been off a bit. She hasn't been getting it in dangerous areas yet. You know, still time to go in this game, but not the impact that I expected out of her and Pugh.
Bonini had 5 goals to lead this Washington team last season, along with 1 assist, started both playoff matches. But at the beginning of the year, she opted to go play in Spain. Now back to the Spirit, who trail North Carolina 1-0 as we take a hydration break. We'll be right back. Ashley Hatch's goal in the 46th minute. The difference so far in this one as North Carolina leads Washington 1-0, and we come back from our second hydration break. Take a look at number 4, Shalina Zadorsky there. You can see a bit of a limp, and Dallin telling us she was receiving some treatment there during that hydration break on her right leg. So we'll see how she holds up. Washington has already had to make 1 change on its back line. Estelle Johnson was having some issues with the heat. It is over 90 degrees here today in North Carolina.
And let's not forget that Whitney Church took a knock in training, so her possible replacement may be in worse shape than Zadorsky.
Excellent point. Church had started every match for Washington up until this afternoon. And Jim Gabera telling us during the week he wasn't sure she was going to be able to go. 1 change remaining for Washington. North Carolina has only made 1 so far. McDonald coming in for the goal scorer, Ashley Hatch, but it looks like they're about to make a second. Young Brazilian Dabinha set to check in for North Carolina. Denise O'Sullivan getting her first start in a Courage uniform.
I think she had a very, very fine performance. Yes, some giveaways, but for the most part, nice little pockets of space that she found and really set the tempo out of. Some good final balls, setting up those front runners, that pace out wide as well.
So both from what you know of Dabinha and also from our conversations with Paul Riley this week, what are you looking for? What is he going to be looking for here from number 10?
Almost a similar performance from O'Sullivan. Can she be better when she gets in those pockets? Can she find it? Because that was his complaint, that she's just not working offensively to get herself in little gaps to find the ball. She does the work defensively, as you see there. She's tracking it back. But now it's putting it in on the offensive side, which is ironic because most players don't want to do the defensive work.
LeBay, very confident touch. Dabinha really was a big part of the way this North Carolina team started the season. I mean, they won their first 4 games, only team in the league to do so, and she was one of the really new pieces that people hadn't seen when Western New York made the transition to North Carolina. They brought in Dabinha in that center of the field, and she added something to this team, has 3 goals and an assist on the season.
But then I think the season started to wear on her a bit, and she disappeared and wasn't as impactful. And he also toyed with her positioning, putting her out wide in that diamond, and perhaps it unsettled her confidence. And we'll see how she reacts to the insertion of O'Sullivan, whether that inspires better play out of her.
Farquharson. Now Mallory Pugh. Bonini. No place to go. Pugh. Nifty little touch. Dahlkemper under some pressure from Williams.
Well, that's how you solve it if North Carolina has all their players within the width of the goal box.
Quick short corner played. It's not going to amount to much, though. Hamilton trying to break free is fouled by Farquharson, and that will give her a yellow.
And a good professional foul here as North Carolina was going to be on the break. Farquharson knows she's beat. Just a little grabby with the hands.
Yellow card of the 82nd minute of play, number 17,
Second yellow card of the match for Washington. Caprice Tedasco picking up one earlier in the half. Coleman has to be careful. Kemper. And now Dabinia. Beautiful ball to McDonald. She pulls it back. Dabinia, an acrobatic attempt and then the save as Hamilton got the shot off.
And I was just going to say that as much as we talked about it, Washington hadn't conceded much with these balls through the center of the backs. Well, here comes McDonald. That gap opens up. She uses that strength so well, cuts it back, and then you get the runners in the box. Dabinia draws the first player, allows that ball to skip to the next, and then the shot blocked by LeBay to get down so quickly. Well handled. But just unnecessary pressure that Washington puts themselves under, I think, with this high line.
Second corner kick of the match, bending toward the goal, and it's in! Have to see exactly who that went off of last.
And at some point, you just start to feel bad for this Washington Spirit team. The fight is there, the willingness is there, and it's just a deflection. It looks like Farquharson might get the first one, and then it goes off Coleman's face. And this is just an unfortunate own goal of the worst kind. You get injured on it. You've got to feel for this Washington Spirit team, but I go back to the play that earned that corner kick. It is about players getting in behind from Carolina in the center of back slot, getting runners in the box, which they do so well, holding the ball up. And then unfortunate for LeBay because she makes that initial save, but gives them the corner kick. And it's a good service by Mewis curling in. She doesn't usually take these, and again, you just see two Spirit players there, the unlucky deflection. You've got to head that up and out if you're Farquharson, or redirect it on its way if you can over the end line for another corner, worst case scenario.
Talk about,
I can't believe it.
I know, and I mean, adding insult to injury, you know, poor Coleman, just wrong place, wrong time. Her own teammate headed it back and takes one in the face and has to watch it go into her own goal.
And we're going to get another look at it, unfortunately, for Coleman.
Yeah, LeBay mistimed it a little bit initially.
Right. Well, you're exactly right. She didn't get anything on it. And credit to perhaps the bodies, the North Carolina players mugging it up in front of her.
That makes it 2-0 here in Cary. North Carolina leading Washington. Orlando still up 1-0 over Boston. That one in the second half. Coming up later tonight, you'll get a chance to see how Sky Blue FC recovers without their head coach, without Christy Pierce, as they take on a Seattle team that is in the playoff hunt as well. Portland, Houston coming up late night, 10 o'clock. And then tomorrow, Chicago and Kansas City at 6 o'clock Eastern time. Remember, you can catch all of those games on the Go90 app and Go90.com. Be sure to go to NWSLsoccer.com as well for tickets and information. I think Steph LeBay's face says a lot there. Some disappointment, but the fortitude to have to keep going forward. This Washington team underwent so many changes in the offseason. It was a team that made it all the way to the NWSL championship game a year ago, had a chance to win the Shield and couldn't quite get that done, but still fought their way to the final, lost in penalty kicks.
There was a lot of skepticism with the trades that were made, with the changes that were made, and then they started off strong, but have really faltered since. And I go back to, they play a nice brand of soccer when they're in possession. But they've got to shore up this defensive piece.
Washington with a mark of 4-9-3 on the season. Haven't been able to put back-to-back wins all season long.
mean, 2 clean sheets is not going to get it done with the level of play that they're facing.
Williams running toward the ball, just about got there. The flag was up anyway. Oh, what a lovely setup.
And this is all NCCvWS. I mean, the weight of this pass, it is a beauty. She's wide open in that seam. No pressure whatsoever from Washington. Allows her that time to slip it through that gap.
Was she off, Allie? Tough to tell, necessarily from that angle, but
I would, to me, no, but I was admiring the beauty of the pass by NCCvWS.
yes. Mewis, Zerboni, Dahlkemper, the real iron women for this North Carolina team, have played every minute of the season.
And really haven't skipped a beat. I mean, they look just as strong today as they did at the beginning of the season.
One final change coming for North Carolina. The crowd will give a round of applause to Kristen Hamilton. And in comes Mackenzie Doniak, second-year player out of the University of Virginia.
And she has been so good for North Carolina. It's hard to imagine that now she finds herself not in a starting role. She's been so good getting around the edge, serving the box. And they just have so many weapons.
And Doniak has started 14 matches this season for North Carolina. I'd like to talk a little bit, Allie, about this North Carolina defense, because they have been so good as they concede a foul here. But all season long, we knew that the offense, we expected them to be pretty good. We've talked about the midfield. Why is their defense so strong? Why are they tough to score against?
I credit to the pressure that starts with their front runners, with their midfield. I mean, they don't allow teams time to play, and that makes it so hard for teams to get that big, expansive shape that can open up gaps to exploit. So it's the whole team. Yes, the back line is absolutely fantastic.
See what Pugh does here. Bouncing ball to Rowland.
And you could see that Pugh was actually waving to her teammates. I could see it from up here saying, I want that early run across. She wanted to skip that in, get those early runners to make things confusing, but instead that just skips right to Rowland.
Saw Mallory Pugh hit the crossbar twice last week against Boston and created a third crossbar that got in the way of her team scoring a goal.
I mean, go back to, you asked the question about defense. Look what McCall Zerboni just did. There was a force ball into, I believe it was Maggie Doherty Howard. She picks her pocket because the ball doesn't come in with pace. It's not clean. It allows her to get there, allows her to press that ball. And it just, the swarming defense is so hard to solve.
It's Stabenia this time to step in. Oh, she put some nasty spin on that ball, trying to set up Williams. Mallory Pugh, her team just a goal away from an equalizer here. Pugh trying to get through. And our referee does pull out the yellow card and call the foul. It'll be outside the area.
I was watching this develop, and you're crediting North Carolina because they're dropping off. They can't get pressure on the ball. They're dropping, and now is when Dahlkemper knows she has to step because she's nearing the edge of the 18. Right decision. A little bit of contact there. I don't mind the call.
So the yellow against Dahlkemper, and this sets up another free kick. Just told you that the crossbar kept a couple of opportunities for Mallory Pugh, including one off of a free kick out of the back of the net last week. She wanted some different runs from her teammates last time, a little closer now.
Oh yeah, she's gonna have a go herself on this one. Yes, Smith, you can't be that close either. I like the gamesmanship.
Now the whistle blows for Pugh. She will take it. The wall did its job, albeit painfully. We are nearly 3 minutes into our minimum of 5 minutes of stoppage time added on to this match. That ball, dangerous one, going back and off the post. Oh my.
And again, you just have to feel for this Washington Spirit team. Roland's caught in no man's land. And then Farquharson doesn't know. Or is that Pugh? Excuse me. Or is it Farquharson?
Farquharson, you were right.
Did not know if she could get a touch on that before she knocks herself into that post or not.
What an unlucky bounce. And forgive me, I said equalizer. Forgot about that own goal. That actually, it's a 2-goal cushion, of course, for North Carolina. But some press here from Washington in these stoppage time minutes. Cross. Still bouncing. Williams trying to get rid of it, but it'll be a corner. 5th of the match for Washington.
And credit to Washington for the fight. I mean, they do have 2 goals to try to surpass right now, and they're still going hard.
Didasco sending it back in. McDonald wants it. Does the work to get it. Wanted it for Dabinia, who was going back and forth on where she was going to make her run.
And then the waning moments of the game, usually I say go to corners, but that could have been a layup for North Carolina, so you don't mind McDonald trying to play that through for Dabinia.
Washington getting some of its best moments here in these waning moments, as you said. North Carolina trying to hang on, get the 3 points, get the shutout. Doherty Howard takes it, wasn't missed by much. And the final whistle sounds. That will be the 13th win of the season for the North Carolina Courage. They do it in shutout fashion. 2 goals in the second half. 1 from Ashley Hatch, 1 an unfortunate own goal from the Spirit. Give you our final score of 2-0.
And really a tale of 2 halves for North Carolina. I mean, they came out on firing on all cylinders in that second half.
Today's play of the game is brought to you by the new movie Leap, starring Elle Fanning and Maddie Ziegler. That's in theaters everywhere Friday. Our play of the game, Ashley Hatch getting the first goal.
Well, it's no surprise here. Love Hamilton's work going 1v1, and then just the miscue on the clearance. Ball falls like a gift for Ashley Hatch, who's in the right seam. But how about Denise O'Sullivan with the weight of that final pass, allowing her teammate to go 1v1, take on Didasco, and then you get numbers in the box, the early runners, and a gift arrives at your feet.
Well, Ashley Hatch is standing by with Dallin.
Thanks, Jen. Ashley, it's your 5th goal of the year. You lead the league in terms of rookies scoring goals. Coming into the season, though, you had Jessica McDonald, Lynn Williams. The team won a championship last year. Did you think you'd have the opportunity to even be this impactful?
I wasn't sure, but, I just knew that I had to come out and give it my best and give it my all and play whatever role the team needed me in.
How difficult was this game? I mean, there was not a lot of flow early on. We were just talking about the heat conditions out here. How hard was it to play in this game? And then when that one opportunity came, to take that one opportunity?
This game was very difficult. I think the weather played a huge part of it. And, it's a mental game, and you just have to come out and be mentally tough, and whichever team can give it their all will win.
You guys have now won 4 straight games, but when you look forward, what are some of the areas you think you can improve on as a team?
There's lots of areas. We have so much talent on this team, and, just getting that flow and working together and doing whatever Coach Paul tells us to do.
Where do you see your game has developed the most over the course of your first professional season?
I think, just smarts in the field. I'm trying to learn the game, trying to get quicker and faster, so I think that's improved, but there's still more improvement.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
The crowd here at Salem Stadium at Wake Med Soccer Park, getting a chance to hear that interview with Ashley Hatch. I'm sure they've appreciated getting to watch the rookie grow and play in her first season.
Yeah, but we got to get more substance out of her. I want to hear some bite out of those answers. I want to hear some details. I love pick her up early because she fits in seamlessly with this style of play, and she's been a bright addition.
Do whatever Coach Paul tells me. That'll always make your coach happy if you hear that from a rookie. Abby Dahlkemper, as we mentioned, one of those players who has played every minute for North Carolina this season. Why not make her work a little more? She's with Dallin.
Yeah, Jen, sorry, Abby. I know it's pretty warm out here. We're making you keep working here, as Jen just said. You've played every minute of the season so far. How was this team different, though, than the team that won the championship last year?
Yeah, I think it was important that our core group, so to say, just came back from last year and just continuing to make strides forward and keep improving each week. And, I mean, Paul and the staff has been great, and they've given us everything that we might need. So I think it's just important for us to keep striving forward.
A lot of fans and myself, we can become obsessed with goals and who's scoring goals. You guys have only allowed one goal scored on you in the last 4 games. Why?
I mean, I think it starts from our front line. I think our press, we've continued to work on our press. The forwards do a hell of a lot of work, so I think that that's really important, and kind of just keeping the same defense from last year in the beginning of the season. Coming back, I think that's important too. We're all kind of meshing and getting on the same page.
What has this season been like for you personally, getting a lot of more minutes with the U.S. national team, and you're obviously logging every minute here? How difficult has this season been for you personally?
It's definitely been a little bit difficult. Definitely had to manage my body, and but by now I kind of know what I need and when to rest and whatnot. But just super thankful for the experience with the Courage and with the U.S. team, and just trying to be a sponge and soak it all in, and just keep learning and getting better.
How do you manage your body going down the stretch here? And Paul was telling us a little bit about that's becoming a concern. Do you guys talk to him a lot about that? What's the plan for you over the next 6 weeks or so heading into the playoffs?
Well, hopefully we're not too focused on playoffs, but hoping to get better each week. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty open for him with Paul and the whole coaching staff. So like I said, they give us what we need, and if we need an extra day rest or anything, it's probably going to be in the near future, a couple days rest. So
you've heard it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
What is in the Kool-Aid they're giving the players? They're all buying into the coaching staff. I love it.
They want to have a plan, Allie. That's what Paul Riley tells us. These players want a plan, and so far that plan has led them to a league-leading 13 wins, 39 points now updated after this victory. They want to keep that margin going. After today, they need just 6 points to clinch a playoff berth. The other game in action this afternoon, Orlando has now doubled its lead 2-0 over Boston. Another Alex Morgan goal, so she has a brace, starting to find her form.
I mean, good thing for Orlando, right? It looks like her time overseas served her well because she is picking up steam as this season progresses.
One of the key players in the second half, especially, really the whole game, but made a difference in turning the tide in the second half. McCall Zerboni for North Carolina, and now she is caught up with Dallin.
Thanks, Jen. And Jen just said, McCall, you're critical in turning around this game, as you always are for this team. Well, how would you assess the overall performance for you guys in this 90 minutes?
Oh, I think our first half was poor. I think we just looked disoriented, and the effort wasn't there, and we weren't really focusing. I was really impressed with the way we came out in the second half, and to the team to react like that and come out and score a goal within the first minute after we had a really bad half. It shows some good things.
Defensively, you guys have been great. I was just talking to Abby about it. 1 goal the last 4 games. How do you continue to build on this amazing run you guys have been on from a defensive standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, as we get closer and closer to the end, we're thinking about those one-and-done games, like the playoffs. So we want to practice, keeping no goals against and doing all the right things in between. So as the season progresses, we want to keep doing those right things and practice those mini details.
I asked Allie before the game if she thinks your team has a weakness. She said no. She struggled to find one. Do you agree with that? Do you see a weakness in the squad?
I mean, we're just so dynamic. We can keep the ball. We can run and play counterattack. We have athletes. We have ball players. We have everything that we really need to be a really dynamic squad, and it's really hard to break us down. It's really hard to beat us, so I'm proud to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
You can just see the seriousness, the intensity that she feels for this team and the passion. I mean, I think she was exactly right, and sometimes you need the honesty from your leaders, your veterans, to say, look, that first half was not the standard that we think we're capable of, and they certainly turned it around, and she's right. I mean, who's going to hit you? Where are they going to hit you? How are they going to hit you? Because it can come through a plethora of ways.
100th NWSL regular season game for McCall Zerboni. You bet she's going to get a hand from Paul Riley. Let's take a look back. Some of the highlights of this one. We'll start in the second half. And that early goal from Ashley Hatch.
And Paul Riley wanted his number 10. That was Denise O'Sullivan, who gets on that ball initially. She found a good pocket of space and then finds her teammate Hamilton. You can just see when this team is connecting and allowing time for players to get involved, good things happen. Yes, this is a poor clearance by the newly subbed Kleiner coming into the match, but that doesn't end up in the back of the net if Hatch is not in the box. That doesn't end up in the back of the net if you don't have those early runners pulling defenders out of shape, and that is something special with this team. And then here you see Hamilton snuck in behind. I think she was caught off guard. And then corner kicks. I mean, they only earned, one or two, but they were rewarded on this one because it was a little self-inflicted pain once again by Washington Spirit as that deflects off of Coleman into the back of the net.
That brought us to our final of 2-0. You see Washington actually out shooting North Carolina 11-10, although the Courage got one more on goal and two more in goal. Most importantly, possession in favor of the Spirit, who I think showed you how they've had a couple of bad breaks. Now, you credit the work North Carolina has done, but Washington just unable to get over that hump. They suffer another loss as North Carolina gets the win. We're going to come back to Salem Stadium to wrap things up after the break. The North Carolina Courage continuing their hot streak in the month of August as they pick up a 2-0 shutout victory over the Washington Spirit. North Carolina came into the match atop the table. That is where they will stay. Their goal at this point, just keep extending that lead at the top. You see the teams behind them as we go down the stretch, the top 4 teams making it into the postseason. The NWSL on Lifetime continues next Saturday. You'll get to see Sydney Leroux and FC Kansas City host American superstar Alex Morgan. She's scored now 6 goals in her last 4 games. That includes 2 today, putting the Orlando Pride right in the middle of the playoff hunt. That one coming at you at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. So glad to have you with us. Hope you'll join us again next week. And as we get down now, what about 5-6 games left for these teams in the regular season, Allie? Who are you watching as we head toward the playoffs?
I mean, I'm going to continue watching this North Carolina team because they're fun, but all eyes got to be on Orlando, right? I mean, they're hitting their form, they're hitting their stride at the perfect time with the Alex Morgan perhaps finding her groove with that group. And you got to look at Seattle Reign because they're going to be without Rapinoe with that knee injury, right? And she's really been their stalwart, the one that's been breaking things open, whether she's scoring or getting down that flank. I think those two might end up swapping positions and Orlando might find themselves in playoff contention. And then, of course, Sky Blue. I mean, how do you not have eyes on how that team reacts tonight and whether or not they can make a run with Sam Kerr in her fine form? So a lot to watch, a lot of exciting soccer going on.
Yeah, certainly a lot of question marks with that Sky Blue team. Although I will remind you, we didn't get into this in the match, that back in WPS days, I know you remember this.
Yeah.
Coach had to resign middle of the season. Christy then Rampone, player coach, they won the championship. So you never know.
She can't be the player coach anymore because she stepped down too.
Right,
so.
She didn't want to do that again. So much left to see. It's going to be fun to watch it all unfold. Hope you'll join us for the NWSL on Lifetime. As we told you, we'll be in Kansas City next week. You get to see that fine form that Alex Morgan and Orlando have been playing with. They've won 2 in a row, looking to make it 3 in a row if they can hold on and get their win in Boston this afternoon. For our game here, the North Carolina Courage doing their job atop the table, finding a way to play a much better, at least more effective second half. 2-0 our final as the Courage pick up their 13th win of the season and extend their lead at the top of the table. So for Allie Wagner and Dallin Cuff and our entire Lifetime crew, I'm Jen Hildreth saying so long from Cary, North Carolina.